was asked to come and talk to you tonight about how we select our students. And to explain that, I need to back up a little bit before I talk about the interview in particular. So one of the things that's different about the University of Minnesota Vet School, somewhat different, is that we made a change in our admissions process a few years ago. We started this in 2004, where we decided that rather than just looking for people who were smart and had gotten good grades and had experience, we wanted people who were smart and had gotten good grades and had experience and could demonstrate to us that they had what some people call behavioral competencies that would help them be successful, not just in vet school, but after vet school as veterinarians. And we were looking for people who would be successful as small animal practitioners, large animal practitioners, but also people who could work in public health, government, industry, research, etc. So we want people who can be successful in any of those areas. So one of the things that we did to help us down that path was we worked with a local, they're based locally, but they're an international personnel firm called Personnel Decisions International. And we worked with the consultants there and 8 or 9 other vet schools from around the country to do the study that looked at successful veterinarians and asked them to contrast their behaviors with less successful colleagues that they had known. So we did focus groups all over the country looking at what made people successful. And we decided that we would base a good part of our admissions decision on those same characteristics. So that's what that behavioral interview, it's actually behavior-based questioning is the type of questioning that's used in the interview. And behavior-based questioning is the kind of, it could be in any sort of, you could be getting a job doing anything and go through a behavior-based interview. It's not specific to veterinary medicine at all. But a behavior-based interview is an interview that assumes that future behavior is best predicted by past behavior. So we ask you, tell me about a time when you, and then we give you a scenario and you tell us about a time when you, whatever that is. I'll give you an example here in a minute. And that's different from a more traditional interview where we might ask you, what are your greatest strengths and weaknesses? What do you enjoy? What don't you enjoy? If a client came through the door with a dog that had just been hit by a car and only had $50, what would you do? That's a hypothesis-based question. So we're asking you to tell us what you think you would do, or more likely what you think we want you to tell us. So a behavior-based interview is, tell me about a time when you. Well, we know that you haven't yet encountered a client with $50. Probably not, unless you've been working in a clinic, then you might have. But we know that most of our applicants haven't been in that situation yet. So we're not going to be asking you those kinds of questions. We're going to be asking you things that you have about things you've already had to face in life. So an example of a question that is not on the interview, because I wouldn't tell you a question that is on the interview, right? But an example of the same kind of question that we use when we're hiring staff members at the vet school is, tell me about the biggest challenge in effectively handling several competing demands. So we've all had to juggle different competing demands. Tell me about a time when you've faced a big challenge in managing those competing demands and how that worked out for you. So what we're asking you to do is to reach back into your memory and tell us about a time that you've faced this situation, and the things that are going to help you do better in that situation, in that interview, are having had enough life experience that you can draw on a somewhat compelling story. Now, we're not expecting that you've been in the Peace Corps and saved a village. If you have, great, that's a compelling story, but it doesn't have to be. We realize that the average age of our incoming students is 24, and so most of them have not saved villages yet. Maybe we'll never save villages. Probably haven't done most of the things that they're going to be doing as a veterinarian, so we're not asking you specific questions like that. But you've had to have enough life experience that you're going to be able to come up with a compelling story. What are some other things you can imagine that would be good experiences? Yeah?
Leadership roles.
Leadership roles, absolutely. We're looking for people who are leaders. And part of that is positional leadership, taking on a president, vice president, treasurer, or it might be leadership in your job. If you have a summer job that, again, could be totally unrelated to veterinary medicine, but you're the shift manager or the something or other, that's great. It doesn't just have to be that kind of leadership, though, too. It could be leading an initiative. It doesn't have to be leading other people. Leading other people is great, but leading an initiative, let's say that you're through some community organization or church or whatever else you're involved in, you decide that you really want to make the world a better place, and here's how you contributed to do that. It could be something you did very independently, and that would be fine too. Absolutely. Very important that you get animal and veterinary experience. And it depends where you're applying to school, how they're going to quantify that, and how much is enough and what kind is best. So I would say what you want to do is make sure that you have depth and breadth. So it wouldn't be enough to volunteer once a month for a year doing something or other. That wouldn't be enough. But at the same time, you don't necessarily have to working in the same clinic for 15 years doing the same thing. That's great, we won't hold it against you at all, but could you have used that time differently and more to your advantage to not only look good on your application, but again, better prepare you for answering the kind of questions we'll be asking you? Having experience volunteering at the Humane Society and working in a small animal clinic, getting some large animal experience, doing some sort of research project through your undergraduate program, a UROP grant or something would be great. So again, animal and veterinary experience and knowledge of the profession. We define that pretty broadly at Minnesota. We want people with a breadth of experience, so could you get in without having had any small animal experience? Yeah. I wouldn't avoid it, but if that's not at all your interest and you've got a lot of other kinds of experience, that's fine. But again, enough depth that you've really gotten some good experience and some amount of variety is your best bet. What other kinds? Did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess I have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
I'm wondering exactly how formal is the interview?
Yeah.
Because I'm just
Okay.
thinking about response time.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we take a little bit to think
Yeah.
about it?
Thanks for asking that. I didn't talk about the specific structure. The way we currently do it, and it'll probably vary over years, so maybe by the time you're there it'll be a little bit different. But right now we interview with a pair of interviewers. So 2 faculty members or a staff member and a faculty member interviewing 1 student. And basically what we'll do is, hi, my name is Dr. So-and-so, nice to meet you, thanks for coming. Do you have any trouble finding us? I mean, a little bit of building rapport, but we're not going to spend the time chatting. We're going to jump right into the interview, and then we'll let you know that this is a structured behavior-based interview, so we're going to be asking you questions and giving you a chance to respond. We'll then be following up with follow-up questions, or what we call behavioral probes. So when you tell your story, then we'll say, oh, so then what happened? And you'd say, well then, how did he respond? I'm making this up right now.
Mhm.
And then, how did you respond? How did it turn out, for example? So because we need to get to the bottom of it in order to decide how to rate your answer, because at the bottom of each sheet we have a standardized scoring guide that tells us what's a good answer, one extreme, and what's a not good answer, and we'll rate you on a 5-point scale for each question.
Okay.
And there are 8, 9, 10 questions to get through in an hour, and so there's not a ton of time. I'm sure it feels very action-packed when you're feeling like you're on the hot seat. I wouldn't anticipate any sort of grilling at all. It's not at all like a trial or something like that. It's just getting more information. Then what happened? What did he say? What did you say? How did it turn out? Kind of things to get deeper into it. And we'll even tell you that at times we'll need to ask you to move along because we'll need to get to the next question. And at times we'll ask you for more information. So it's very much directed by the interviewers. So